Okay. Hi there, my name is CJ Michelli. I'm the author of the Christian fantasy book series, The Aduran Saga. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Did I say that twice? I don't really know. So, I'm making this video for two different reasons. One, because I actually feel strongly about the content I'm about to show you, but also because I'm testing YouTube's copyright system. I think I understand how I'm supposed to do this, but we're going to find out together if I'm actually doing it right. So, as many of you know, if you're watching this in real time, I am reading through The Lord of the Rings next month. And that's got me thinking about some things. And I just wanted to read a short little passage to you from the chapter called Shadow of the Past. So at this point, Gandalf has returned to the Shire, and he's explaining to Frodo the perils of the One Ring. And he says to Frodo, I don't know if I can do the Gandalf voice. He says, "Last night I told you of Sauron the Great, the Dark Lord. The rumors that you have heard are true. He has indeed arisen again and left his hold in Mirkwood and returned to his ancient fastness in the Dark Tower of Mordor. That name even you hobbits have heard of, like a shadow on the borders of old stories. Always after a defeat and a respite, the shadow takes another shape and grows again." "I wish it need not have happened in my time," said Frodo. "So do I," said Gandalf. "And so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us." And he goes on, of course. And we all know this moment from the films. If you read the Lord of the Rings books, you've probably seen the films. That's an interesting question, actually. Sound off in the comments. Do you like the books better or the movies? Personally, I'm going to be able to tell you even better in a month, won't I? But I seem to recall that I like them both about equally, but for different reasons. They're very different from one another. They do different things, but they're both deeply impactful, deeply meaningful. So my point in this reading, we often, especially as young boys, we romanticize adventure. Like it would be just the funnest thing in the world to go off and get into mighty battles and beat the bad guys and stuff like that. But then J.R.R. Tolkien comes along, who actually did go on adventures. He was actually, an officer in the army. He actually did go and fight. He went off to war, at least. I don't know his combat record, if he had any, but he went off to war, and so he saw some horrible things out there. And he has this very, very sobering perspective on adventure that comes out in his writings. And that is that, there's some adventure stuff that's fun, great, awesome. You get to meet some cool people along the way, like Galadriel, but Theoden dies. Boromir dies. Gandalf dies. They all suffer horribly. Frodo comes back with actual scars that will never heal. Technically, it's a wound, not a scar. But he comes back with things that will haunt him for the rest of his life. Sam is forever changed. Sam had to fight a giant spider-like creature. Technically, Shelob isn't a spider. That's a whole other video. Does that mean that adventures aren't worth going on? No, I think adventures are worth going on. I think life without at least a little bit of adventure is kind of boring. We need adventure in our lives. But the grand adventures that we dream about with dragons and such, these are very, very scary, traumatic experiences. Frodo was immediately struck by the gravity of it all and the horror of it and said, "Man, I wish this wasn't happening." So do all who live to see such times. I actually think this is a whole video unto itself as well. I actually think Gandalf is Tolkien. I think he wrote himself into the books. That's my suspicion, is that Gandalf is Tolkien. Because he has these moments where he explains things to people, as if the author himself steps onto the page. And so I suspect that Gandalf is really Tolkien himself. Just because adventures are unpleasant things doesn't mean we shouldn't have them. The quest that the Fellowship went on was, you can't say it was no fun at all, especially for Gimli and Legolas, right? Especially in the films. They certainly had fun here and there. And granted, all of them had pleasant experiences along the way. But yeah, I wish it need not have happened in my time. So do all who wish to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time given us. And that is one of the great wisdoms of the Lord of the Rings, is you can't glorify adventure. But it does change you, often for the better. Just look at the way that it changed Frodo and Bilbo. Both were already arguably very decent men, decent hobbits. But they came back wiser, more mature, stronger. So yeah, don't shy away from all adventure. Just remember that adventure can be unpleasant. It can be a learning experience. And like with poor Boromir, it can turn deadly. That's it for me today. Thank you for watching. You can find my books on Amazon. The Endurance Saga by C.J. Michelli. I will see you in the next video.